Foretell why a business plan is needed and what purpose it should serve. 5. Prepare a sample business plan. 125. When Sam and Teresa Davis decided it was time for a career change, they opted to start their own business rather than work for someone else. After considering the options, Sam, who had 18 years of marketing and managing experience with a large regional department store, and Teresa, who was a veteran teacher, chose to open a school supply store in Northport, near the university. Knowing that many small businesses fail because of poor planning, the Davises chose to start their venture the right way by doing extensive strategic and operational planning. One of the first steps the Davises took early in their endeavor was to seek the services of the university's Small Business Development Center. They were very helpful and supportive, says Sam. It's tough getting started, but we felt we had done enough background work to start the business successfully. Point 1. Sam cites the center's Small Business Handbook as an invaluable asset that answered questions concerning such important details as taxes, business licenses, zoning problems, and advertising. Before getting in over their heads, the Davises knew they had to do extensive research and write a comprehensive business plan. This step would not only assist their fundraising efforts, but also serve as a blueprint for the process of making their dream a reality. The key word, according to Sam, was research. The biggest problem was gathering the facts to write a detailed business plan. The Davises did their homework well. First, they made numerous trips to school supply stores in surrounding cities. They also took their idea directly to their potential clients, teachers, and school administrators. Finally, after carefully assembling the needed information, they wrote a detailed business plan. One thing the Davises learned from their research was that there was little or no diversity among school supply stores. To avoid being just another run-of-the-mill school supply store and risk market saturation, they needed to find a unique twist, something to set their store apart from the others. They found their niche by adding a work area that includes a letter and shape cutter, a laminator, and a copier to produce transparencies. This unique idea proved to be the solution to one of the most difficult problems new businesses face: getting customers in the door. Sometimes we have as many as 6 university students at a time working on some school project here, Teresa says. Others using the center include junior and senior high school students working on science and social studies projects, as well as church workers. Through their research, the Davises also discovered that the growing homeschooling trend had been virtually ignored by other supply stores. This opened a new market. Sam and Teresa Davis do their homework before launch. Profile. Courtesy of Teresa Davis. 126. Part 2. How to plan and organize a business. Further products. The Davises cite this as another key factor in their success. As a result of their painstaking research and creative ideas, the Davises store, Learning Experiences, has been tremendously successful. They are open until late afternoon and on weekends so that teachers and parents can take advantage of what the store has to offer. Point 2. Now, as they advise potential entrepreneurs, the Davises emphasize 2 points about formulating a good business plan and running an effective business. 1. Entrepreneurs must have first-hand knowledge of the product or service they plan to offer, and 2. They must create a distinctive niche by making the business unique in some fashion. Now, after 18 years, they have more than doubled their size in square footage. This was accomplished when a neighboring tenant moved out. The author asked Teresa how she liked having a small business, and she said, "I love it. Check out our website at www.learningexperiences123.com. 3. The profile illustrates some of the problems and steps involved in planning, organizing, and developing a new business. The first 3 of those steps were discussed in Chapter 5, and others will be explained in detail in this chapter. Why is planning so important to small businesses? Planning is the process of setting objectives and determining actions to reach them. To become an effective business owner-manager, you must look ahead. In selecting the business to enter, as discussed in Chapter 5, you are doing just that, planning for the future. As shown in Figure 6.1, planning should be the first step in performing a series of managerial functions because it sets the future course of action for all aspects of the business. Planning, which is the process of setting objectives and devising actions to achieve those objectives, answers such questions as these: what business am I in? What finances do I need? What is my sales strategy? Where can I find needed personnel? How much profit can I expect? For example, business owner Terry Thomas says that after 15 years of ups and downs, he has identified a set of criteria to follow. Be prepared. Be patient. Know when to get help. Form your own support system. Know the power of vertical integration. Never rest on your own laurels. Point 4. Stan Kaplan, a successful operator of several high-volume dry cleaning and laundry plants, says that business plans can be likened to U.S. military plans. Market research is akin to know your enemy, and all military operations begin with a mission. Estimated enemy situations include evaluations of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Military plans for combat service support encompass all administrative and service support such as employees, supplies, maintenance, and so on. And finally, the military is always giving orders, communicating with employees, when implementing a mission, plan. Point 5 New Venture Weinstein Company is a present-day multifaceted media company operated by Harvey and Bob Weinstein, formerly of Disney's Miramax Film, operating out of Manhattan. The brothers have developed a strategy for their startup. According to a recent interview, the strategy is of a boutique multimedia company with a business plan that is very specific, prudent, and makes sense in the world we live in today. Figure 6.1. Chapter 6 Planning, Organizing, and Managing a Small Business 127. How planning relates to other managerial functions. 1. Planning. Deciding or choosing organizational objectives and setting programs, policies, and strategies to achieve them. 5. Controlling. Setting standards, measuring performance against standards, and taking corrective action to see that planned performance is achieved. 4. Leading. 2. Organizing. Deciding what resources and activities are needed to meet organizational objectives, setting up work groups, and assigning authority and responsibility to achieve them. 3. STANG. Selecting, training, developing, placing, and orienting needed employees where they can be most productive. Getting employees to do what you want them to do by communicating with them and motivating them to perform, leading them toward goal achievement, and informing them about their work assignments. Why small business owners need to plan. Planning is one of the most difficult activities you must do. Yet it is essential that you do it because, before taking action, you must know where you are going and how to get there. Outsiders who invest or lend money need to know your chances of success. Plans provide courses of action, information to others, bases for change, and a means of delegating work. In summary, well-developed plans can 1. Interest moneyed people in investing in your business, 2. Guide the owner and managers in operating the business, 3. Give direction to and motivate employees, and 4. Provide an environment to attract customers and prospective employees. Why small business owners neglect planning. Although planning is so important, it is one of the most difficult managerial activities to perform. Many small business owners neglect planning because 1. Day-to-day activities leave them little or no time for planning, 2. They fear the problems and weaknesses planning may reveal, 3. They lack knowledge of how to plan, and 4. They feel that future changes cannot be planned for. 128 Part 2 How to Plan and Organize a Business. Table 6.1 Some of the most important types of plans and planning functions. Types of plans and planning functions. Strategic planning, mission, the long-term direction of the business. Objectives, shorter-term ends to help achieve the mission. For total firm. For functional area. Strategies, means to achieve an end, or courses of action needed to achieve objectives. For total firm. For functional area. Examples. To provide financial security at low cost. Earn a 20% return on investment in 2013. Increase penetration of market by 25% by 2014. Establish control procedures to control costs by 2013. Use 1% of sales to improve and expand service. Operational planning, policies, guides to action that provide consistency in decision-making, particularly in repetitive situations. Methods and procedures, prescribed manner of accomplishing desired output. Budgets and standards, plans for future activities using measures for control. Personnel policy, promote from within, giving preference to promotions for present employees. Employee selection procedure, complete application form, test, interview, investigate, select. Cash budget, for planning use of money. Planning requires original thinking, takes time, and is difficult to do, but it does help one prepare to take advantage of promising opportunities and cope with unexpected problems. Table 6.1 illustrates and explains strategic planning. The role of strategic planning. Strategic planning provides comprehensive long-term direction to help a business accomplish its mission. Strategic planning provides comprehensive long-term direction to help a business accomplish its mission. Table 6.1 shows that strategic planning consists of two parts, the firm's mission and objectives, and its strategies. Small business owners need to seek help with strategic planning as the business grows and prospers. Forte Group, a management consulting firm, suggests you ask yourself the following questions. Do I have the ability to develop a comprehensive strategic plan to take the company to the next level? Do I have the experience and life lessons necessary for furthering the strategic vision of the company? Do I have the leadership skills the organization needs to grow? Do the investors relate to and trust me? 6. The following are some examples of strategic planning. Selecting the type of business to enter. Formulating the mission of the company. Chapter 6 Planning, Organizing, and Managing a Small Business 129. Deciding whether to start a new business, buy an existing one, or buy a franchise. Choosing the product or service to sell. Deciding on the market niche to exploit. Choosing the type of organization to use. Determining financial needs. Selecting the location for the business. Real-world example 6.1. For example, a recent study by 3 CPAs indicated the significance of location to small businesses. They studied which small firms in their areas were succeeding and which were failing. Jacqueline L. Babicki's consulting group found that the types of business doing well in the Portland, Oregon area were those that had taken steps to differentiate themselves and/or their products from others in the mainstream. Larry Field's firm found a growing number of small high-tech businesses were moving into the Phoenix, Arizona region to provide secondary parts to larger manufacturers. Ann Adams, owner of Aloha by Anna, specializes in wedding and event planning and shipping in fresh leis from Hawaii. She feels her mission is to introduce the Aloha spirit to her marketing area, alohabiyana@aol.com. Point 7. SWOT analysis. A SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, is one tool that most strategic planners use to scan the business's environments and base objectives. SWOT analysis allows the owner to identify new markets and to prepare for perceived downturns or competitions. SWOT analysis is a useful tool to aid the process of strategic planning and can be organized into the form of a matrix. A study is made of the opportunities and threats in the external environment and the strengths and weaknesses in the internal environment. The key is to be able to eliminate weaknesses and threats and to capitalize on the strengths and opportunities. A simple listing within cells is a good basis for analysis. Strengths 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opportunities. Weaknesses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Threats. This format allows you to reach a basic understanding of your business and the environment in which it operates. 130 Part 2 How to plan and organize a business. And Figure 6.2 Strategic umbrella. Finance objectives, marketing objectives. O. Production objectives. IS. Mission. IV. Management objectives, HRM objectives, legal objectives. Vision. A business's vision explains what the business is striving to become in the future. A business's mission statement defines the present business scope and broadly describes the organization's present capabilities, focus, and activities. Objectives are the purposes, goals, and desired results for the business and its parts. A business's vision explains what the business is striving to become. Or in other words, what it wants to be when it grows up. Mission and objectives. A business's mission statement defines the present business scope and broadly describes the organization's present capabilities, focus, and activities. It is concerned with broad concepts such as the firm's image, with the basic services the firm plans to perform, example entertainment instead of just movies, and with long-term financial success. Once set, missions are rarely revised. A clear definition of your mission enables you to design results-oriented objectives and strategies. A good mission statement defines exactly the identity of your business and allows all of your planning to flow from it. Figure 6.2 illustrates the umbrella structure of strategic planning. The umbrella shows graphically how important it is to have a mission statement and major objectives that will interrelate and provide guidance for a cohesive and meaningful organizational structure. Frequently when small business owners are closely tied to their business, the mission becomes very personal. Real-world example 6.2. Carpe's mission statement: to deliver to our customers the finest quality products and service available, to offer to the community a comfortable and enjoyable gathering place for all to share and, above all, to give back through our community service and support. Point 8 Profile, Chapter 14. Objectives are the goals that give shorter-term direction to the business and serve as benchmarks for measuring performance. Examples of objectives might include, to increase total sales by 8% a year and, to introduce within the next 2 years a new product aimed at the middle-class consumer. Notice in Figure 6.2 how the objectives flow from the mission statement. Objectives are more specific than missions and are revised more frequently. Table 6.2 illustrates how objectives can be set. Creating the mission and Chapter 6 Planning, Organizing, and Managing a Small Business 131. Table 6.2 Example of how objectives can be set. Firm's objectives. Total net profit, income, after taxes, return on investment, ROI, net income after taxes / total assets, return on equity, ROE, net income after taxes / equity, total sales volume, units, total sales volume, dollar, return on sales, ROS, net income after taxes / sales. 2014. Dollar underscore 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 2015 dollar underscore 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 2016 dollar underscore 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 2017 dollar underscore 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 to attain a underscore 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 percent share of market by the end of 2015. To have a underscore 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 percent debt to equity ratio in the capital structure initially, declining to underscore 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 percent debt equity at the end of 2016. To develop a new product by the end of the year 2017. Defining objectives for a small business involve two important considerations: the business's external environment and the internal resources that give it a competitive edge. The external environment. Many consultants and other advisors are pushing small companies to give more emphasis to their external environment. In a study of 100 companies, the Futures Group of Glastonbury, Connecticut, www.tfg.com, found that managers who spend more time evaluating external factors such as their competitors, the U.S. market, CLI Mate, and emerging technology can better manage and forecast business than those who focus on internal factors. 9. This practice was found to improve their strategic plans. Some other external environmental factors to consider include clients, the economy, legal and political factors, changing demographics, foreign competition, and many other influences. This examination is part of a SWOT analysis. Changes caused by the introduction of videotapes, computer hardware and software, lasers, and population aging, for example PLE, have been a blessing to some companies and a death warrant to others. For example, the population of the baby boomer generation is almost twice that of the next generation, Generation X. As boomers begin to retire, there will be fewer workers to replace them. Because of this shortage, more firms will ask retirees to remain. 10. The expanding communication and transportation systems require that even the smallest companies keep abreast of a constantly widening range of events. Internal resources and competitive edge. The internal resources found in small businesses include those listed below and also examines strengths and weaknesses of a SWOT analysis. Also, to be competitive, the resources must include the characteristics listed. Human resources are the personnel that make up the business's workforce. Physical resources are the buildings, tools, and equipment, and service and distribution facilities that are needed to carry on the business. 1. Human resources include both management and non-management people and include key operating employees such as production supervisors, sales personnel, financial analysts, and engineers. To keep the company competitive, these people must be motivated, imaginative, qualified, and dedicated. 2. Physical resources include buildings, tools, and equipment, and service and distribution facilities. For the company to be competitive, these resources must be strategically located, be productive, be low in operating costs, be effective distributors, and make the proper product. 132. Part 2. How to plan and organize a business. Financial resources include the cash flow, debt capacity, and equity available to finance operations. A competitive edge is a particular characteristic that makes a firm more attractive to customers than are its rivals. Strategies are the means by which a business achieves its objectives and fulfills its mission. Figure 6.3 Mission/Strategy of John Smith, General Agent, Tulsa, Oklahoma. 3. Financial resources include cash flow, debt capacity, and equity available to run the business. To make the company competitive, company finances must be adequate to maintain current levels of activities and to take advantage of future opportunities. If a small firm has exceptionally good resources that are effectively used, it can have a competitive edge over its rivals. Therefore, a proper evaluation of available resources may permit you to focus on your customers and provide them with a little something extra, which gives you a competitive edge. Thus, a small business must align its mission, objectives, and resources with its environment if it is to be effective. The proper evaluation of its competitive edge can make a small firm's planning more realistic and lead to greater profitability. Strategies. Strategies are the means by which the mission and objectives sought by a small business can be achieved. A basic question in setting strategies is how should the business be managed to achieve its objectives and fulfill its mission? To be most effective, strategies should give a business a competitive advantage in the marketplace. They should combine the activities such as marketing, production, or operations, research and development, finance, and personnel in order to use the firm's resources most effectively. Figure 6.3 shows how a strategy can be set up to fulfill the mission of a small business. Notice that John Smith will provide certain services and policy coverage to clients so they will have maximum personal financial security at the lowest possible cost. As we discussed in Chapter 1, an effort is now being made to encourage owners of small businesses to rethink and redesign the way their organization operates. Thus, while top management must still be involved, lower levels of managers and workers seem to be more involved in integrating their company's vision, mission, objectives, and strategies into their strategic planning. The role of operational planning. Why do so many small businesses fail? As shown in Chapter 1, the underlying reason in most cases is lack of proper strategic and operational planning. These types of planning are vital because they help potential and new entrepreneurs avoid costly blunders, save time, and result in a more polished final product. 3 types of planning will improve a small business owner's chances of success. 1. Strategic planning before starting the business. 2. A business plan to attract investors, financiers, and prospective employees. And 3. Continuous operational planning and control before and after the business starts operating. Mission: to provide the maximum amount of personal financial security at the lowest possible cost while maintaining the highest quality of individualized service. Objective: to serve the financial needs of businesses, individuals, and their families in the Tulsa area through guaranteed income to meet loss from death or disability, through these services and policy coverages. Estate tax planning. Qualified pension and profit-sharing group life and health ordinary life business interruption. Chapter 6 Planning, Organizing, and Managing a Small Business 133. Setting up policies, methods, procedures, and budgets. Operational planning sets policies, procedures, and standards for achieving objectives. Policies are general statements that serve as guides to managerial decision-making and supervisory activities. Methods and procedures provide standing instructions to employees on how to perform their jobs. Budgets are detailed plans, expressed in monetary terms, of the results expected from officially recognized programs for a given future period. As you can see from Table 6.1, operational planning starts with setting policies, methods, and procedures, and budgets, which together form the basis for the other part of operational methods and planning. Policies guide action. They exist so that managers can delegate work and employees will make decisions based on the thinking and wishes of the business owner. Methods and procedures provide employees with standing instructions for performing their jobs. They comprise detailed explanations of how to do the work properly, and in what order it should be done. Budgets set the requirements needed to follow the strategies and accomplish the objectives. For example, a cash budget shows the amount and dates of cash income and outgo. It helps the manager determine when and how much to borrow. Planning to operate the business. The second part of operational planning to operate the business should include choosing your location, planning operations and physical facilities, developing sources of supply for goods and materials, planning your human resource requirements, setting up the legal and organizational structure, determining your approach to the market, establishing an efficient records system, setting up a time schedule. Choosing a location. The type of business influences most of your location decisions, as they relate to access to customers, suppliers, employees, utilities, and transportation, as well as compliance with zoning regulations and other laws. The mission of the business is also a basic consideration in seeking the right location. As will be shown in Chapter 12, each type of firm has its own factors to consider and gives priority to those that most affect the business. Planning operations and physical facilities. A firm's ability to sell its product is based on its ability to produce that good or service, as well as on its market potential. Good selection and efficient arrangement of physical facilities, then, are important. Too much capacity increases costs, which can reduce the company's competitive position. Too little capacity reduces the availability of goods and causes loss of sales. Therefore, a proper balance between production and sales volume is needed. Planning starts with the estimate of sales and the operations needed to produce the product. Using these estimates, the machines and personnel needed for the demand can be determined. Another important decision is whether to buy facilities or lease them. Any such choice between purchase and lease is based on differences in initial investment cost, operating performance and expense, and tax considerations. A photocopier is an example of an item that should probably be leased rather than purchased. Because of rapid improvements and the need for prompt and proper maintenance, leased copiers will probably give more dependable service than purchased ones. Chapter 12 provides more details on locating and laying out facilities. 134 Part 2 How to plan and organize a business. Developing sources of supply for goods and materials. The largest expense for companies selling products usually is purchasing materials, supplies, and/or goods. This cost is often more than 50% of the cost of products sold. Therefore, the ability to purchase these essentials at favorable prices can lead to profitability or vice versa. Lowest cost materials do not necessarily mean inferior quality, and small firms should take every opportunity to reduce costs. But small businesses usually find it difficult to compete with large ones on the basis of price alone. Instead, they can more successfully compete on the basis of better quality, service, delivery, and so forth. As will be shown in Chapter 13, the business must be sure to have sources of supply that meet its standards in all ways, including competitive prices. Human resource planning is the process of converting the business's plans and programs into an effective workforce. Figure 6.4 An oversimplified organizational structure. Planning human resource requirements. Human resource planning can be one of the most frustrating tasks facing small businesses when such businesses are not big enough to easily hire the specialized people needed. Therefore, you, as a small business person, need to estimate how much time you will spend in the business. For the less time you can devote to the business, the more important it will be to have capable employees who must be able to work with less supervision than in larger firms. The issue arises of obtaining good employees. Some important questions to ask yourself are: how many workers are needed? Where will they be obtained? How much must I pay them? These and similar questions are discussed in chapters 10 and 11. Setting up the legal and organizational structure. Your organizational structure must be developed taking into consideration the legal and administrative aspects of the business. Both legal and administrative structures offer several options, so you must select the structure that best serves your needs. Many small business owners, especially if they have started as sole proprietors, may have difficulty envisioning a management structure beyond the boss/employee relationship shown in Figure 6.4. Retaining too much authority is one of the best ways to kill your small business, so be aware of setting up too rigid an organizational structure. The legal form of a business, as discussed in Chapter 3, may be a proprietorship, partnership, corporation, C corporation or S corporation, limited liability company. Boss. Everyone else. Chapter 6 Planning, Organizing, and Managing a Small Business. 135. LLC, cooperative, or joint venture. Other forms of business may include limited liability partnership, LLP, family limited liability partnership, FLP, professional service corporation, PSC, nonprofit corporation, and fractional ownership. The administrative structure of a small business should be based on factors such as 1. The strategic plan, including the business mission and objectives, 2. The owner's personal and business objectives, 3. The plans, programs, policies, and practices that will achieve those objectives, and 4. The authority and responsibility relationships that will accomplish the mission or purpose of the firm. Determining approach to market. The volume of sales and income of a small firm depends on its marketing strategies and activities. If a study of the environment determines that there is a sufficiently large market for the firm's product, plans must be made to capture enough of that market to be successful. Even if your company's service is the best, you must tell potential customers about it. Many methods of marketing are in use, the ones used must be chosen for the particular business. Real-world example 6.3. For example, a number of years ago, a man living in New England conceived of a rubber, instead of metal, dustpan. He had a dozen samples of the new product custom-made in a variety of colors and headed to Boston to hawk his wares in Fillings and Jordan Marsh. Neither seemed interested in the dustpan. Still, because he was sure that homemakers would buy his product, he decided to test market the dustpan by calling on them. Pulling into a residential street, he parked his car and set out to ring doorbells. Just 45 minutes later, he returned to his car with only 2 pans left. Convinced that his idea was good, Earl Tupper developed a company, Tupperware, www.tupperware.com, to market the product directly to consumers. Once a target market is chosen, you must provide for sales promotion and distribution to it. The product to be offered should again be studied carefully to determine answers to the following questions: what qualities make it special to the customer? Are there unique or distinct features to emphasize, such as ease of installation or low maintenance? Should the company use newspaper advertising or mailings to publicize the product? These and other marketing questions are discussed in more detail in chapters 8 and 9. Establishing an efficient records system. Even in a small business, simple records and information systems must be used. but they must be designed to help you control your business by keeping track of activities and obligations and also to collect certain types of information demanded by outside organizations such as government agencies. For example, you must maintain records of such data as 1. The date each employee is hired, the number of hours each one works, and the wages and benefits paid. 2. Inventories, accounts receivable, and accounts payable. 3. Taxes paid and owed, see Chapter 15, and 4. Units of each product sold. Many records are needed to help make the small business operate successfully. Management information systems, covered in Chapter 16, should be selected and designed to aid management in this respect. 136 Part 2 How to plan and organize a business. Table 6.3. CFA NAPFA CFA CPA PFS CHF CCRPS RIA CMF CCR CCDFA AEP. Certified Financial Planner Fee-Only Financial Advisors Chartered Financial Analyst Certified Public Accountant / Personal Financial Specialist Chartered Financial Consultant Chartered Retirement Plans Specialist Registered Investment Advisor Chartered Mutual Fund Counselor Certified Retirement Counselor Certified Divorce Financial Analyst Accredited Estate Planner. Sars, Christine Dugas, Deciphering Financial Advisors Credentials, USA Today, April 29, 2011, P4B. Setting up a time schedule. Once you decide to go ahead with the formation of the business, you should establish a time schedule to provide an orderly and coordinated program. The schedule should probably include the prior planning steps. Many of these steps can be and often are performed simultaneously. A SCORE representative can provide valuable assistance. The role of financial planning. Financial planning involves determining what funds are needed, where they can be obtained, and how they can be controlled. Net profit is the amount of revenue, sales, over and above the total amount of expenses, costs, of doing business. Financial planning can be quite simple or very complex, as shown in Chapters 7, 14, and 15, but it should involve at least the following. 1. Estimating income and expenses. 2. Estimating initial investment required. 3. Locating sources of funds. When choosing a financial advisor, there is an alphabet soup of credentials for you to sift through. Some designations represent certifications and some require passing one or more regulatory board tests. Table 6.3 presents a few. Estimating income and expenses. The steps described so far set the stage for determining the profit, or loss, from operating your new business. Income from sales, also called revenue, can be estimated by studying the market, and expenses, also called costs, can be calculated from past experience and other sources, such as knowledgeable people, a library, or a trade association. After all costs have been estimated, they can be totaled and subtracted from the estimated sales income to obtain the expected net profit, or loss, as shown in the worksheet for Dover Enterprises * in Figure 6.5. Remember 2 key points when making your estimates. First, these expense and income, or loss, estimates are usually for only the first year of operations. However, if you also make an income analysis for an expected typical year in the future as well as for the first year, the exercise can provide valuable information for planning purposes. For example, Jim Benson was a rocket entrepreneur and planned to send his customers into space. His space tourism business operated as Benson Space Company. * An actual company, but the name is disguised at the owner's request. Chapter 6 Planning, Organizing, and Managing a Small Business 137. And wanted to start regular trips outside our atmosphere. Tickets for each of the 6 PA singers were estimated at between $100,000 and $300,000. It would cost $20 million for tourists to go to the International Space Station aboard the Russian Soyuz. Second, while total expenses do move up and down with sales volume, they do not vary as much. Some expenses, such as materials, which rise in direct proportion to increases in sales volume and drop as sales volume drops, are called variable expenses. Other expenses, such as depreciation on buildings, which do not vary in value as sales volume rises or falls, are called fixed expenses. Also, there are some expenses, such as supervision, that combine variable and fixed costs. Changes in sales volume drastically affect the amount of net profit. As sales volume rises, say, from 10,000 to 20,000 units, losses are reduced and profits may rise, as sales volume drops, say, from 20,000 to 10,000, profits drop and losses may occur. Don't forget to prepare a personal budget. As Robert Caldwell, a New York financial planner, emphasizes, living below your means is never a mistake, and that is even more true with a startup business. Therefore, you and your family must have enough income to live on during the time you are moving from being an employee to being an employer. Variable expenses change in relation to volume of output. When output is low, the expenses are low, and when output is high, expenses rise. Fixed expenses do not vary with output, but remain the same. * Projections for 3 levels of sales. Dover Enterprises worksheet for estimated annual income, expenses, and profit, loss, *. Units sold. 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. Income sales income, $5/unit, $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 cost of goods sold. Production cost, $1.62/unit, $16,200, $32,400, $48,600 shipping boxes and labels, $0.04/unit, $400, $800, $1,200 depreciation, mold, $2,500, $2,500, $2,500 total production expenses $19,100, $35,700, $52,300 gross profit $30,900, $64,300, $97,700 other operating expenses salaries $30,000, $30,000, $30,000 telephone $3,000, $3,500, $4,000 rent $2,100, $2,100, $2,100 insurance $400, $400, $400 office expense $1,000, $1,100, $1,200 sales promotion $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 freight $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 travel $4,000, $4,000, $4,000 taxes and licenses $4,000, $4,000, $4,000 miscellaneous $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 total operating expenses $53,500, $57,100, $60,700 net profit, loss, $22,600, $7,200, $37,000. Figure 6.5. 138 Part 2 How to plan and organize a business. If your standard of living drops too drastically, it will probably be devastating to your family. So, in addition to determining the expected income and expenses of the business, also estimate your continuing needs and where you will get the resources to satisfy them. Estimating initial investment. Cash flow is the amount of cash available at a given time to pay expenses. You will need money and/or credit to start your business. You must pay for items such as buildings, equipment, materials, personnel, inventory, machines, business forms, and sales promotion at the outset before income from sales starts providing the means to pay these expenses from internal sources. Credit may be extended to help sell the products, but this only adds to operating expenses. The worksheet in Figure 6.6 provides a logical method of calculating the initial cash needs of a new business such as Dover Enterprises. The figures in column 1 are estimates that have already been made for the income statement for the first year. The amount of cash needed is some multiple of each of the values in column 1, as shown in column 3. The total of these multiple values is an estimate of the money needed to start the business and is shown in column 2. This sum can be considerable. Note that the cash needed to start the business shown in column 2 represents the delay between paying money out for expenses and receiving it back as revenue. The item called starting inventory is an illustration of buying goods in one period and selling them in another. But inventories of goods and supplies in the form of purchases and recurring inventories continue to exist for the life of the business. Therefore, funds obtained from investments in the business or from loans must continue for its life unless they are paid off. Because cash does not produce revenue, it should not sit idle but should be used to earn income. The amount of cash a business needs, and has, will vary during the year, since most businesses have busy and slack periods. To keep the investment and borrowing low, cash flow projections must be made. The worksheet in Chapter 15, Figure 15.1, is a form that can be used to make such projections, which can then be compared with what actually happens. You might contact your nearest SBA office to get information to help you estimate your startup costs. Also, various financial firms and certified public accountants have computed some helpful standard figures. Locating sources of funds. Once the amount of funds needed is known, you must find sources for those funds. The many sources from which to obtain funds to start and operate a business boil down to two, the owner and others. These two sources will be discussed in detail in Chapter 7, so only the highlights are discussed here. Before approaching a funding source, decide how much money you and others will put into the business and how much should come from other sources. For example, when looking for startup capital, consider all possibilities. Dozens of resources exist to fund home-based entrepreneurial endeavors. If you have a good business idea, you should be able to find the money you need to make your dream come true. Make use of every available resource so that you can go fully equipped into your tomorrow. Using your own funds. Some small business owners prefer to invest only their personal funds and not borrow to start or operate a business. Others believe they should use little of their own money and instead make as much profit as possible by using their interest in the business as security when obtaining funds from others. Normally owners control. Chapter 6 Planning, Organizing, and Managing a Small Business 139. Source: this basic worksheet is based in Checklist for Going into Business, Management Aids No. 2.016, Washington, D.C., Small Business Administration, P4. Dover Enterprises estimated monthly expenses and starting costs January 1, 20__. Estimated monthly expenses. Rent. Item. Salary of owner-manager. All other salaries and wages. Travel, advertising, delivery expense, supplies, recurring inventory and purchases. Telephone and telegraph, other utilities, insurance. Taxes, including social security, interest, maintenance, legal and other